Hello, everyone. My name is Dwayne Barnes. I'm responsible for the Rapidscale business unit within Cox Business. And today we're going to be discussing SD-WAN and the partnership between Cox Business, Rapidscale, and VMware with Sanjay Paul, the SVP and GM of the Service Provider and Edge business unit at VMware. Welcome, Sanjay.
Hi, Dwayne. It's so nice to chat with you today. And yes, I do run the Service Provider and Edge business at VMware. And prior to this, I used to be the CEO of VeloCloud Networks.
Well, welcome, Sanjay. Appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today on the topic of SD-WAN and SASE, and we'll see what other subjects we can come across.
So thanks, Dwayne. Great to chat with you today. And you folks have chosen VMware SD-WAN for running your managed SD-WAN service. Would love to know how you came about making that decision. And thank you for it, of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, appreciate that, Sanjay. So yeah, I mean, we've been a desktop as a service, application provider as a service since Rapidscale's inception. So if you think about more than a decade ago, pre-SD-WAN, we're trying to deliver apps over the internet to our customers using things like Citrix and VMware Horizon and other remote desktop type protocols. And as you might imagine, when you do that, you're always looking for ways to improve that customer experience, that application experience, whether it be through acceleration or security, encryption, and visibility to the performance of that app. Mm-hmm. And so we got into SD-WAN pretty early. And as we got into that space further, we recognized pretty quickly that VeloCloud had a unique offering that was service provider, multi-tenanted, great APIs, and beyond all of that, the product actually worked out of the gate without a whole lot of engineering. And so, as we've tried multiple other vendors over the years, we really fell in love with the VeloCloud business model, the technology platform, the ease of use, the ease of deployment. And, we really haven't looked back. So we've been super, super happy with the service.
Excellent. So, as I tell my team, the acronym I use is TSW. This stuff works. So thank you for choosing VeloCloud and VMware.
Yeah, so another aspect of our decision to choose VMware is VMware's forward-looking, roadmap, right? So, I don't know if you guys get the credit for coining the acronym SASE, but that's the first place I saw it, and that's obviously the hot topic in the space right now. Maybe you could just take a few minutes and tell us what it is and how it's going to transform the way we connect our not just our offices and branches, but also our people to the cloud.
No, absolutely. And I won't take credit for SASE, but we were certainly a part of the conversation that resulted in SASE being created. Now, SASE, of course, stands for Secure Access Service Edge. And it is the coming together of network as a service and network security as a service so that both could be provided pretty much as services, because the service edge aspect of it means you're not just getting a set of products that you have to roll out, but you as the enterprise or the business customer is getting a set of services. And the reason why adding security to networking is important, one of the prime examples is what's happening with the pandemic. As people go to work from the coffee shop or go to work from home, those environments, like branch offices, tend to be fairly complex. And so if you only take one of these services and you try to optimize on them, then you're going to miss out on some pretty major aspects of what the customer is looking for. And so bringing them together is what SASE is all about. And we think that this is really going to provide the next stage of growth for the networking services and the security services, all provided from the network. So it's a pretty exciting time. And given that you folks have started off very successfully on providing SD-WAN as a service, which is the first component, you do have plans to roll SASE services as an extension of SD-WAN?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've been partnering with VMware and VeloCloud business unit for a number of months now, working on a joint roadmap on those topics.
Yeah, that's great. And from a service provider standpoint, a lot of customers are leaning forward and saying that rather than getting the products themselves and stitching them together, that they'd much rather go to a managed services offering. And of course, Rapidscale does provide managed services, but would just love to know from your aspect, how does managed services and SASE and SD-WAN play together?
Yeah, I think to me, we've been a big believer in trying to make IT simple for mid-market customers. And if you think about, well, how is it simple? Well, when I hire an employee, I just want to log into a portal, give them access to apps, and not worry too much about it. And so that's really our goal. So we've built our own single pane of glass portal. We write to all of our vendor APIs, VMware and VeloCloud. So our vCloud infrastructure, our Horizon DAS infrastructure, our Velo infrastructure. And so when an employee's network admin or desktop admin logs in, they can go in there and see anything they want to know about their entire IT environment. And so, SASE is just a natural extension of that, as we've always been the company that's provided that secure remote access to a company's apps, realistically from anywhere, anytime on any device. The pandemic sort of just accelerated our sales and for things that we were already experts in, realistically. So what we're thinking about is, those maybe ultra small business might not be quite sophisticated enough or have those needs, but we really feel like those mid-market customers, they have SaaS apps, they may have some client server apps, they have distributed workforce, they have probably some large segment of employees that may not come back to the office. And so we just want to make it simple for them. If they have a IT or HR policy where they give a new employee a $500 or $1,000 Apple or Best Buy gift card, they should be able to buy whatever device they want. Hit a URL, download a thin agent of some sort, whether it be Workspace ONE from VMware or a Microsoft tool, and then connect to that application catalog, if you will, seamlessly. And if that laptop dies and they get a new one shipped to them overnight, they get right back up and running.
Yeah, I think you're concentrating exactly on what end customers want, which is they want to run their business. They don't want to be dealing with all the details of what's happening with the networking and the security, but they really want someone who understands that. They want someone with the expertise, someone who'd be able to scale with them, because companies always go through transitions and phases. And then they want someone who really understands the security of what's happening, because with the complexity of the environments, security becomes predominant. And from partnering with you folks, I find what scale is in your name. And so the scale aspect, expertise that you bring, because you also do multi-cloud, so you understand what these folks are going through. So I think this partnership has been great. But you did mention one thing that caught my attention, which is you worked on the APIs. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you've done in terms of taking the VMware VeloCloud APIs and then extending them for your customers?
Yeah, it's a great question. So again, we're trying to simplify IT for maybe the less sophisticated IT department. And that's not to mean at an individual level, but if you're a small company or even a mid-market company, you're going to have a couple folks in IT maybe, and I'm sure they would love to know everything there is to possibly know about everything in IT. But realistically, they should be focused on that business's application stack to provide value back to the line of business that they're in. And what we want to do with our portal is give them a simple view of very complex things. At the end of the day, virtual desktop infrastructure is incredibly complex. SD-WAN environments, while Velo's done a great job of simplifying it, there's still lots of tweaks and policy objects and security and QoE scores, all kinds of things in there that if you're not a pretty well-versed network person, it might look like Greek to you. So what we've done is skin that VeloCloud orchestrator at a per tenant or sub-tenant basis in our portal. So when a customer logs in, they can click on SD-WAN widget in the portal, and they're going to get a high-level overview of uptime, their QoE scores, their locations, which ones are green, which ones are red, see their entire map of their network. And then if they really want more information, they can click into each of those sections and drill in and get their circuit IDs, all of the different stats that we track using the native VeloCloud APIs. But again, we're kind of giving them that crayon picture up front, and that just gives them one glimpse into the status of their entire enterprise, whether it be one location or 1,000 locations.
I love the crayon picture analogy. I use, I say ducks and bunnies to my team, which is make it so simple that everyone knows what a duck is and what a bunny is. On the other hand, you're hiding a lot of the complexity. And you, as the managed services provider, know what the complexity is. But for the end business, they want to run their business. They don't necessarily want to deal with all of the complexity. But if it comes to turning the dial and the knob, you folks are quite capable of getting that done. So, which would lead me to my next question. If I'm a business, or the folks who are going to be seeing us chat here, and I was to choose a managed services provider, what are the things that I should regard as important in choosing one?
Yeah, I think we have a concept we call co-management, and what I believe is a partnership between any two businesses. Doesn't really matter if it's IT and commercial customer or B2B. The foundation of that should be transparency. And so we believe that if a customer wants to manage their environment, whether it be SD-WAN or other, they should be able to do that. So we don't hide the administrative controls away from them in any of our services. And I think that's very true in SD-WAN. So some customers may be very familiar with how to set up a VPN, but not so familiar at how to set up, quality of service, for example, or some other type of policy-based routing. And if they feel comfortable doing it, we should let them do it. So we give self-service access to our customers at whatever level they're comfortable with, as opposed to making them open a ticket, wait 4 hours or 8 hours or a business day to get the changes done that they very well could just do themselves. So I think that's one big benefit. I think being carrier agnostic from the perspective that we will manage and monitor and escalate to any carrier that a customer might bring, whether it be from our parent company, Cox Business, or from any other carrier out there. As we know, customers are going to have locations in and out of our footprint. We will treat all of their circuits equally and escalate on their behalf. Obviously, being owned by a carrier, we have kind of a bat phone, so to speak, to get to our own NOC. But if they've got LTE for backup through Verizon or AT&T, we're going to call out on that as well. And I think if I was going to say maybe what the most important thing is the managed service provider or whoever they're looking at buying SD-WAN from should be focused on their applications. Because if you really think about what the point of SD-WAN is, every SD-WAN box and provider out there is going to give you the internet redundancy features. Some might be session-based, some might be packet-based, but at the end of the day, you're going to have network resiliency baked in. But if you're not asking, or the MSP isn't asking questions of the end user customer, where are your users? What apps are you using? What clouds do you access? What SaaS companies do you partner with? You're probably not going to have an overly successful SD-WAN deployment. Or at the very least, you're not getting your money's worth out of the SD-WAN deployment.
No, very true. I think you hit on a really important point, which is the network used to be bifurcated away from the applications. And networking people used to talk in different terminology, bit error rates and pings and latencies and stuff. But what the business really wants is they want access to their applications. They want the access to be performant. They want it to be secure. And they want this co-management aspect with the granularity that you're talking about. It's not an on and an off thing. It's not that you can get all the management or you can get none of it. You can actually choose to get what types of management you want. And I think that's very powerful, along with all the bringing together the different kind of underlays, because it's a mix and match, and customers don't want to deal with the specifics of what's in each of those underlays. So I think the expertise that Rapidscale has, along with Cox Business, is really proving to be valuable out there in the market as you roll out SD-WAN and SASE services.
Yeah, on that note, I've read that I think it was from IDC that 75% of the U.S. enterprises are planning to adopt an SD-WAN solution over the next couple of years, and SD-WAN managed services are also forecast to grow. So, from your perspective, what are the benefits of going with a managed solution or service provider for SD-WAN?
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely right. I mean, the growth has been tremendous. When SD-WAN started, initially, of course, for the first 6 months or so, we had a lot of seeding to do. And this is across all the providers out there. And this, I would say, was in the 2014, 2015 timeframe. But going from that, when there were only a few hundred customers that have deployed it, now we're talking, just from our perspective, that is VMware SD-WAN, we have 12,500 customers. So the scale has been tremendous, the growth has been tremendous. And we are finding that customers are making more and more choice to choose a managed services provider than choose a DIY kind of approach. And when you think of a managed services provider that has network capability and aggregation capability, that's even a better choice. Now, why is that happening? It's happening, and what are the aspects that people would be looking at? Well, first is, they want to concentrate on running their own business. So expertise comes in over here, that they want to choose someone that has the right expertise. I think secondly, the security aspect I feel is really important. So managed services providers naturally provide security services as well. So when I talk about zero trust, which is the direction that we're going with our architecture, in a simple analogy I have is, when you say, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you say, you know nothing, Jon Snow. So you're looking at it from a network standpoint, you're supposed to know nothing. And as far as the customer is concerned, they don't need to own anything. So you own nothing, Jon Snow. When you put those two things together, the security aspect of it comes along with it. And the third is just simply the ability to scale up and down, which we talked about, because the scaling aspect, customers really don't want to buy in predetermined chunks. They want to be flexible. So I think all those three aspects are really critical when choosing a managed services provider. And this is why managed services providers are the primary route to market we're finding for many customers out there.
Yeah, you mentioned the concept of zero trust, and I was on a panel recently with a number of CIOs globally. And one of them mentioned to me, and this is about maybe 4 or 5 months into the pandemic, that they had taken the approach that even their own LAN in their corporate offices now were considered zero trust. Because if they adopted that in their own office, then they could adopt their IT to a zero trust anywhere. And I thought that was a unique perspective, because most people think when they go into the office and plug in, it's natively secure. But it's only as secure as it was designed to be. So I totally think that if more CIOs and IT directors take that approach, we'll hopefully see a lot less security breaches in the news that seem to be coming at us more and more every day.
No, absolutely. And when you look at the attack vectors changing, because almost everybody is now working from home, or from the coffee shop, or from the park, then you have a lot more diversity, meaning that you have folks that are doing non-business applications, and so the attack surface has increased. And so adopting the zero trust approach, where you trust nothing until it proves itself, and who is it coming in on behalf of, what's the posture of the device, I think that ties in very well with networking. In fact, it almost is a mandate that you have to look at both the network service and the security aspect of that service when you talk at the application layer. So very pleased that with the set of managed services that you folks have, you're addressing both of those. In fact, so glad for the partnership between VMware and Rapidscale. So Dwayne, is there anything else that we can chat about here?
Maybe the last question is as you guys look to drive business moving 2021 and beyond, right? What do you think is the largest growth area? Is it the MSPs and service providers, or are you still focused in the trying to sell direct in the enterprise, or where do you see your growth coming from?
Yeah, so we historically have focused on the service provider side. In fact, when I started VeloCloud, I was told choose one or the other. Either choose to go enterprise or choose to go service provider. After talking to a number of end businesses, decided to do both. And there were several folks out there who said, that's not going to work, you're going to fail. But a startup is about trying new things. And that's the very nature of a startup. And with some combination of luck and foresight, we place the right bets, and service providers, managed services providers, have always been more than 50% of our route to market. I think that distinguishes us from almost everybody out there. And I continue to see that for the reasons that we just talked about. And so, the SPs, and looking at things instead of a product, looking at it as a service, instead of something physical, looking at it as something virtual. Virtual services, containerized, is where the world is moving towards. And with our partnership, I think we can absolutely get a significant portion of that business as SASE gets rolled out, as compute gets added to it. So I'm really pleased to have this chat with you, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Sanjay. Appreciate you being with us today.
Great. Nice chatting.